We have a little game that we play here where we need to hit the same button at the same time, and I was slow, but I claim really old.
Mhm.
It's got
Yeah,
to be the reason.
right.
Right.
So we were before the big day of the November 6th vote, also for Tesla annual meeting, to reveal the vote issue. Um, and then you can go over some Robotaxi numbers.
Yeah,
Um,
I've shown these Robotaxi numbers before, but that was a couple of weeks ago, and I'd like to get your take on them, to either confirm or tell me I'm completely nuts or just exactly what's going on. Yeah.
yeah, just before we get the vote tomorrow, I think it's clear that we have like at least 18% swing to yes, because of the new vote from the last 2018. We did vote in the 2018 package twice. Each time we ended up with 70%.
Hmm.
And in those two cases, Elon could not vote in
Right.
this.
Right.
Now he can. The other thing, two things that have happened is Schwab, which voted against last time, last two times,
Mhm.
have now agreed to vote for it
Right.
because of the actions of people like us in the test community who said, "Hey, if you don't vote yes, we're going to move our accounts," and people started threatening to move their accounts. So then when they actually saw money moving away, they said, "Okay, let's not do that." So then they said, "Yes, we will vote for the pay package." So that's about a 0.5% to 1% of the shares. Schwab has that. Vanguard have not said what they're going to do, but Vanguard, starting in about May and then increasing again in October, was something that Sawyer Merritt had done, which was to get investor choice, where they would move some of their funds and say, if you have your fund in investor choice,
Hmm.
or one of our funds become the investor choice, you can then vote your shares.
Wow.
So several of their biggest funds, with S&P 500 ETFs or something like that, um, have with a lot of Tesla shares, potentially 80 million, something like that. So the number that is free to vote could be as high as 60%, but
Wow.
it's at least I think 10 to 15 or maybe 20%
Mhm.
because of they have 10 trillion under management. 1 to 2 trillion was put into this investor choice, but it looks like the funds that are in investor choice are the ones with Tesla in it. The
Mhm.
ones that are more Tesla heavy are that. They also said they would move another fund in, but that doesn't officially take effect until 2026,
I see.
it looks like. Um, so it looks like instead of 6.8%, if they voted away to say no, it would be more like 2 to 4%.
I
That
see.
would be so 14.5% from Elon,
Mhm.
0.5% from some other people who couldn't vote last time, and then almost 1% from Schwab, another 2% here, maybe 4%, and you're at 18-20% swing to yes already. So it's looking strong and stronger, and we're putting a lot of pressure on State Street, which has 3%. We're putting pressure on Vanguard itself to say, hey, the entire thing, don't vote the other
Right.
way.
Right.
So it's, I think, looking quite in the bag, which we already know before, but just some more details around how the vote is in the bag where Elon will get it.
So yeah, if it comes in at 87, 88, 89, 90, that would be a real feather in the cap of not only Elon, but the board, and also people like Tesla Boomer Mama, who just really works this stuff like crazy, trying to get people to make sure they vote and all of that. So, and taking, figuring out about these foreign funds that were invested in banks that wouldn't allow you to vote your shares, and I mean, just yeah, all the kinds of stuff she's been working on. So, hat tip to Tesla Boomer Mama.
Right.
All right, so you think it's gonna be that? All right, so if it, so then I think that per our conversation the other day, I think that the sell-off on Tuesday was nervousness about the vote because of the Norwegian sovereign fund, Norway's sovereign fund. Was it you that did the analysis on that? I heard this analysis that if the based on their holdings right now of Tesla stock, and based on the number of people that live in Norway, if the Tesla effort, if this is successful and we get to 8.5 trillion, every single person in Norway will be $10,000 richer,
Right. Right.
and they're voting against.
Right.
I was like, what?
Yeah.
So all those people in Norway 5 or 6 years from now that don't already own a Tesla, when they see that they're $10,000 richer, should go out and buy one. Anyway,
Oh, it will make them richer. Even the kicking and screaming, will drag them into.
that's right. So I thought that was pretty wild. All right. So then today, I think there was more information coming from various different directions. There was also a tremendous, huge number between last Wednesday and yesterday of different analysts and banks and others coming in and saying, we're raising our estimates, our share estimates, not
Share
necessarily,
targets.
yeah, the share target, not necessarily the EPS.
The best one is Dan Ives.
Yeah,
So he has his $600
right,
price target, $2 trillion,
right.
right? But now he's added in a $3 trillion by the end of the year bull case.
Yeah,
But he described that $800, although it's actually 900.
yes.
So he lowballed at 800. So basically, he has a 600. He's ready to move to 800, 900 once we clear that level. So if Q2 works out, which is when he thinks that happens, and then we get that extra trillion, which is basically an extra now $500 billion to get to 2 trillion, right? I think it's 600, and then okay, he's ready to go to 900 right away. So he is anticipating he's going to have to keep raising his targets.
Yeah. So he would then only be at half of my next year end number. I don't know. I don't know about yours. I'm at 2,000 for the end of next year. I do have caveats, of course. I'm starting to put caveats in because, if you and I are probably making the boldest exact predictions about stuff in the community, and we've been right more often than anybody. But sometimes these things that we're not expecting that maybe would be capable of being anticipated jump
Mhm.
in.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying now to figure out what is it that needs to happen for real on the
Mhm.
ground in order to
Yeah.
justify the price. Yeah.
Right. Right. I think that one thing to get rolling on Robotaxi, like that full wave, then it can, run ahead of itself so long as it's, the direction is trending correctly. It was just like when we went from not making money to making money with Model 3 and then getting the Model Y and stuff like that, that the you was you knew it was going to happen and you didn't have to wait for it. It was like, okay, yes, it's off by a month or 3 months. Just like we currently think that way, that okay, it's off by a month, 3 months, not the end of the world. While because we've been trying to struggle with, okay, let's get those cars out, let's do whatever, that each little miss or misstep is confidence shattering.
Yeah.
So once we're really rolling on Robotaxi, then we'll know, okay, it's going to happen. We're at 50,000 now or 100,000. It's irrelevant, which month it comes in. Yeah. So getting to that point will be good. Having the confidence to know that it's going to happen is the main thing.
All right. So let's go ahead. Let me share my screen and let's go ahead and talk about the numbers that I've come up with most recently. And
Yeah.
these are just pure numbers. So these are not like whatever month. You can plug in your own month for when this is going to happen.
Mhm.
So I'm using 40 cents a mile as the cost of the service.
Mhm.
Kathy Woods, Elon Musk have said it could be down to 20, 25, even under 20 cents, but that's got to be the Cybercab. That's not going to be the Model Y or the Model 3. So I'm putting in for the Model Y and Model 3 as being the biggest part of it for the next year, even though we might get a lot of Cybercabs out there. I think it's going to be, but this is also just fleet. This doesn't count the other Airbnb type or whatever you want to call it. We need a name for that.
Mhm.
Anyway, what do you think of my 40 cents? Is that number okay?
Yeah. About 40, 50 cents is perfectly fine. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Revenue, I've got that one at $2 a mile. Now, that assumption there is that Elon is going to go for market price. And this would actually be the lower end of my expectations on market price for the average cost.
Mhm.
So I think I've mentioned on the show before that I was going to go to LAX a few weeks ago, a couple of months ago, and it was no, I'm sorry, I was in an Uber and I asked the driver, "What does it cost right now to go to LAX?" And he said $180, which is 60 miles away. So that's a
Mhm.
long trip, $3 a mile, and that's before the tip. So I'm hearing that from other places as well. So I don't know what it is in Podunk, Missouri, but at least in LA, it's now at $3 a mile, even for a long trip. So I'm saying $2 a mile is the average across the country, average day and night, rush hour, not rush hour, et cetera, and based on uh, going ahead and getting the market price.
So basically, we're not breaking the current rideshare model with 1,500 cars, 15,000 cars, even a million cars. A million cars would be 50 billion miles. You'd be trying to compete with Uber in a serious way in volume, right? But we can still compete with Uber and not, break the price mold because the ride share availability is it still needs to be there.
Right.
So in Kathy Wood's projection, they say that market of $2 or $1.50 can last up to 1 trillion miles,
Hmm.
which would be I think about 20 million vehicles,
Wow.
20
Wow.
million robotaxi.
Okay.
So this should that $2 price should be pretty robust up to a pretty high level.
And Robert Scoble has said that Waymo is able to charge more than Uber because there's no driver and because there's
Mhm.
no tip.
Right.
So being above Uber would even be a possibility. And again, Elon's going to have the very best data analysis of anybody to be able to make wise decisions on how to change the price around during the day. So $2 a mile, you're okay with that?
Yep.
Okay, for the first year. Yeah.
For the first year. Yeah.
Okay, profit, that's easy. I can subtract. That's $1.60 a mile.
Yeah.
Now then we get to the 250 miles per day of actual revenue miles.
Mhm.
So that is based on 20 hours a day. I
Mhm.
don't think they're running 20 quite in Austin right now, but they could be
Mhm.
running 20.
Mhm.
Even at 18, 17, 16, I still think they would get close to that 250 miles a day. That is again a Kathy Wood number. I'm just borrowing it.
Mhm.
I didn't just dream it up. It's based on Uber and Lyft and taxi cabs and all kinds of other information that they were able to get from public records.
Okay.
All right. So
Yep.
that, of course, again, the multiplication isn't that hard. So the profit would be $400 a day. Now that's profit. Okay. That's everything is in that 40 cents. The overhead is in. If there's any people that have to sit there, what do you call it? And uh, safety people in the sky.
Mhm.
The folks that have to rush to the what do they call it? Rapid response people. It's counting
Mhm.
everything in that 40 cents. So this
Mhm.
is not a number that you then need to subtract from. So this is the $400 a day would be profit. Bottom line, earnings per share. I mean, I'm sorry, yeah, earnings per share.
Just a quick point to that is that Waymo, they've been reporting about 2.5 million miles, pay miles per week,
Okay.
right? And so that's with about 1,500 vehicles.
Mhm.
So that would mean about 1,400 to 1,600 miles per week, which
Okay.
would work out to about 200-ish
Okay.
miles per day for them. So
Mhm.
they're doing a bit less, but I think that they have some lower operation times, and then they may have some scaling, some new areas and that kind of stuff where they're not up to the thing. So 200, 250 miles is certainly doable. And if you have more saturation of vehicles and if your price is a bit better, because they are charging more, they're charging like $3,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So then you could get more miles. You could trade off price for miles to say, okay, I'm going to satisfy you and give you more miles. So
Yeah, and the other thing about Waymo and Lyft and Uber, I'm sorry, Waymo is that they're operating in cities only. So they're not doing the long trips. They're not doing the Riverside to the airport, et cetera, et
right.
cetera. So
Mhm.
that would increase the average number of miles per day. And again, this is a national average. All right, so I'm starting out at 1,500 cars, which is what Elon says he'll have by the end of the year. So
Mhm.
1,500 cars between Austin, 500 and 1,000 up in the Bay Area. And that would give us $600,000 a day in profit. And that would give us $54 million per quarter or 216 million per year.
Mhm.
So people ask, okay, when does it move the needle? So 216 million per year would be about 8 cents, right? No, 7 cents. 7 times, yeah, about 7 cents. That's 7 cents a share. So I'm thinking that at 7 cents a share, that moves the needle. What do you think?
That is about a 10% bump on EPS. We were at 55 cents this last quarter. So 7 cents would be like 15% more.
Yeah,
We were looking for 70 cents, so it would help, make that. So it would be noticeable, yes.
right. All right. So now I'm thinking that we get to 15,000 by the end of the second quarter. Might
Mhm.
happen sooner, might take an extra week or two, but somewhere around the end of the second quarter, we're at 15,000 cars. That would be $540 million a quarter or 2.16 billion per year on an annual basis. And now we're
Mhm.
talking about $1.50 a share.
Right. So
So,
that's definitely noticeable because
yeah, no kidding.
but it's per quarter per year for that.
Per
It's
year, $1.50
per
per
year.
year. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that
I'm
if
sorry,
we're at
I
50,
did that wrong. I'm sorry. $7, not because it was 70 cents, add a zero, so we're talking about $7 a share? No, 7 cents.
70 cents.
70
70
more
cents.
cents, 70 cents, yeah.
Yeah, 70 cents. Yeah.
Right.
So an extra 25 or 20 cents or yeah, per quarter almost. So that would be, going from 55 to 75, so it would be like an extra 40%, 30% on the numbers. And so that previous one would only be 7 cents. That would be only 2 cents per quarter,
Two
right?
cents per
Because
quarter.
the per
Right.
per
Right.
quarter. So 2 cents per quarter for the 1,500, and then now we're at about 20 cents per quarter,
Right.
which yeah, that's at 40%. So that would be definitely significant, and it would be a major lift. And also, it would be super high margin
Right.
earnings, and it would be AWS like, so the multiple on that would be far higher. So it would be able to double the stock off of that because you've already the money is really starting to flow in at a significant rate, and it's high margin stuff, and they know the growth will likely be a 10x by the end of the year.
Right. Now we go next to 150,000. And I'm saying Elon, of course, is saying 1 million by the end of the year. Now I think he's talking though about 1 million total between fleet and
Network.
Airbnb. So
Yeah.
I'm going to say I'm going to just lower his number a lot and say 150,000 in the fleet. Okay.
Mm.
Now some
Yeah.
of those are going to be cyber cabs, so they're going to make more money, but we'll leave that alone for now. But
Yeah.
now we're talking about $7 a year.
Right.
We're talking $142 billion. That would
Yeah.
be more than Apple. That would
Yeah.
be more than NVIDIA. That would be more
Mm.
than Microsoft.
Mm.
That would be getting very, very close to the all-time high by Aramco. But
Mm.
that's not all the profits. So now you
Mm.
add in the profits from cars and energy and everything else. I think we might, if we get, I'm sorry, yeah, 150,000.
Mm.
I jumped. I'm so sorry. That's at the million level.
Yeah.
I jumped. I'm completely
Yeah.
wrong. At the million level, we would be approaching Aramco. Okay.
Yeah. Right.
At 150,000, we're only at 21 billion plus the 11 billion or something, 12, 13, 14 billion maybe by then. So we're like at 35 billion, about a third of an apple at that point.
Yeah. A triple or quadruple from the revenue we've had in the last quarters.
Right.
So it's a substantial increase in profitability, and be that 400% growth in just 1 year
Right.
for us. Yeah, so that'd be
So
a
then,
huge move. Yeah,
so if that's where we are at the end of next year, we're at 21 billion in profit
yeah,
just on Robotaxi, just on the fleet. And we don't have any Airbnb vehicles yet, and that's it. And we add in the rest of the stuff. And we're looking at, let's just say 21, let's say it's 33 billion a year. If we're still at 100 PE, that's a $3,000 stock.
Right,
And
right. And
I'm only estimating 2,000.
right. And the thing is, when you're in Q4, it's what happened this past year, and you would be looking into the year ahead, right? Quite clearly, you'd be looking to the year ahead. So then the if you're 150K, you're clearly going to be at the million probably in the year after,
Right.
right? Within 12 months, especially if you go and we activate the network where you practically instantly go to an extra million, 2 million vehicles. Even if only half of them put in, then, and you're giving away half of the money, Tesla giving half money to us
Mhm.
to do it, right? It still works out to fantastic numbers. So the growth would be clear that we're going to have huge growth for another 2 years. Once you get to 150,000, you know that it's going to keep going very predictably. At that point, it'd be like high margin, very predictable. It's just like NVIDIA pointing ahead and say, okay, this is going to happen. And also it would be unlike NVIDIA where they keep worrying about, a bubble, a bubble, a bubble. This would be very clear to know how many more cities, what's the saturation level. It would be the path ahead in terms of like how much more growth there would be very clear.
Yeah, and then if you get to 2 million, let's say in 2027, 2028, you get to 2 million vehicles. And again, yes, some of those will be Airbnb. They won't make as much money. Maybe the numbers come down a little bit. So, we're now at $1.50 or $1.25 or something. So there's not as much profit. But so we'll cut it in half. I'll go back to the 1 million. Let's say that we're at 145 billion still, plus whatever the other incomes are from Optimus and everything else. I think that's you get that consistent a number of 140, 150, 160 billion dollars a year in EBITDA. Then all of a sudden you're getting then you're definitely at 3,000 or higher.
Well, the thing is, you'd be at um, 20% or 40% more EBITDA than NVIDIA does now with 100 billion.
Right.
So the 100 billion going to 142 billion, and you did it in like only 2 years,
Right.
right? Versus, I think NVIDIA taking 3 years,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah, right.
so so then you could be at the and knowing that there's still clear growth ahead,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That would be clear. Then, getting to a higher than NVIDIA valuation at 6 trillion to 8 trillion, I think would be very justifiable on the fact that the the good thing about the Robotaxi would be the growth would be very obvious, right?
Right.
Or the growth potential, the TAM,
Yeah.
is very, very clear,
Right.
right? Especially if you don't have other competitors at any scale,
Mhm.
right? And if you have robo trucking
Right.
going,
Right.
so that growth would be clear. Hey, I still got to make 2 million, 6 million robo trucks that
Mhm.
will each have 5 times the revenue of a Robotaxi, right? So then they would know, okay, that will go and you will get constant revenue every year on that. So then they would know, okay, this is going to do another 10x from there, right?
Right.
So
Right.
then going to that $1 trillion would be where it'd be very obvious. Yeah.
So then for fun, I asked Grok to give me a list of where everybody is right now. You can see Google's at 124, Apple is now over 100 billion a year to 112, Microsoft right at 100. Nvidia is only at 86.6 right now, but as you point out, maybe even when they give us their numbers on the 19th, they might be at 100 billion in profit. And probably will be in fact. So there's kind of the folks that we need to pass.
Yep. Yep. And could happen in 2 years, very, very foreseeably. And,
Yes.
and the thing is, once you're there, like getting to 20 million vehicles or 40 million robotaxi, and to 2 to 4 million trucks in the United States, or at least 1 million trucks in the United States, 1 million trucks in 1 million trucks in Europe, 10 million trucks in Asia, is something that everyone needs, and they would all be at the $2 level.
Right.
So that would give us towards 100 million Robotaxi equivalent, because the 10 million Robo trucks would be 5 times more, right?
Right.
So then you would go to that'd be equivalent to 50 million Robotaxi, 50 million Robotaxi, 100 million Robotaxi. You would be 100 times the one that you just did, which was $70. So you can get to really, really nutty numbers where you're making what would be a trillion or more than trillion. It'd be like 10 trillion, something like that. It'd be like huge
So,
numbers.
so if we get to 3,000, of course, 3,000 would be about 6 times where we are right now. I think most, and that doesn't count Optimus, and that doesn't count, you know. So at $3,000 a share, I think most people be pretty happy.
Mhm.
6x from here. Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah,
think,
yeah.
I think there'd be a lot of shareholders that would be singing Elon's praises. So,
But going back to that, like 20 trillion Robotaxi and Robotruck.
right.
Well, definitely yeah, let's do 2035. To say, okay, it takes
Okay.
10 years to do
Yeah.
that. Because I can make a lot of trucks, I can make more truck factories. But with $100 billion, you can make a lot of factories.
Right.
$100 billion a year in profit. I can really start ramping and making a lot of factories very fast, right? So when you're bigger, it's easier to keep winning.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Exactly. 100% true. Yeah. All right. So, as far as we talked the other day about what's going to happen in terms of the stock price, we're sitting at 461
61. Yeah.
in the after hours, last time I checked. And tomorrow there's going to be some jockeying again, like there was today, people setting themselves up for. So I decided to stay out of that in terms of making any guesses. I'm just going to stick with my all-time high or 500 by Wednesday, the 12th, because Tuesday is a holiday.
Hmm. Yeah. So there is always a chance that we sell on the news because we moved up, and so people could decide to sell, just like the Tuesday selling, where people just want to sell. But I think that going forward, having the pay package clear would, and then just executing on Robotaxi in the last 55 some days of the year, where we're going to get to 1,500 vehicles. To your first point of like getting to that shown, like having that clear that we're on path to something like what you described, months debatable, but
Soon.
that we're soon. That is soon. It's not 10 years away or 20 years away, like some people were putting into their models.
So I talked the other day about the overhang going away, and with that's kind of what you just said. If the overhang's not there, we can concentrate on the Robotaxi curve. But the other thing that came to my mind is that Elon has a habit of making his goals, maybe late, but he makes his goals. And in fact, the last time I was trying to compare the attitude about his pay packages. In 2018, every single person that did an interview, every single person that went on CNBC, every single newspaper article or magazine article that was written about it, they all said, "That's impossible. That's the stupidest. What is he even thinking? There's no way. Oh, it's a lot of money, but he's not going to make it anyway. So what do we care?"
Right.
What are you hearing this time about this pay package?
It's a bit of schizophrenia. It's one, it'll never happen, but then they'll say that it's so unfair and so unworth it. It's
Yeah.
like, so there's the 3 things. One, it's impossible, never happen. 2 is he'll do it, it's too easy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
In which case, and they keep saying, why would people vote for it if it's so easy to do? Because he could just do it, right?
Yeah.
He has enough from that. It's kind of like, so he'll create like 20 trillion company. People say, well, it's 8.5 trillion. Well, it's like, if I go to 4 times
Right.
the EBITDA of
Right.
NVIDIA,
Yeah.
I'm going to go to
4 times.
4 times the value of NVIDIA. My profits are there and did very fast and growing.
Yeah.
Then 20 trillion is there. In which case, we're going up like 13 times from today.
Right.
So if someone has $100,000 and they go to 1.3 million, or they have like $1 million of Tesla stock and they go to 13
13 million.
million, to say, and then you have to pay 6% to Elon after he did it, after he's already done. And the thing is,
in stock, not cash.
in stock options, right? That you have to pay for at the price of 3 months ago.
Yeah.
Right. So to pay $84 billion to get the stuff that he did, because it's saying at the price of a few months ago before this all starts. Right. And so then it's, just that tip, so impossible, too easy, and then unfair if you can do it. And the too easy thing ignores the fact that it's like, well, plenty of other companies have done 10x or 20x and they didn't get that paid. Yeah. But not from $1 trillion base.
Yeah.
Because no company that is, $9 trillion or $20 trillion company, those don't exist. Yeah. Only $5 trillion. So yes, Jensen did it from 500 billion to 5 trillion, right? Or from 200 billion to whatever. But he didn't call the shot and say, hey, I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to take no money. Yeah, I'm going to take no money for this thing until you do it. He was still taking his 100 million salary, still taking other stock options, all that kind of thing. Right. And you roll back to 2014, Tesla's worth less than GM. Mary Berry comes in at $55 billion for GM. She gets her $30 million per year pay package, getting at $30 million per year. And GM is still at the same price right now, roughly. Right. So it went flat. Tesla went from behind to $1 trillion, $1.5 trillion now. Yeah. So we've gone to 30x of GM. So that's the price of, like, yes, you could get your cheap CEO for $30 million, or you can get one that actually delivers and then pay him for that.
Right. All right. So, and by the way, folks, you know me as an optimist. I saw somebody commenting on you today, Brian, calling you an optimist. Yes, you're an optimist, but you're a futurist. And I believe I am too. And we don't come to these numbers without analysis. But the number that Brian just talked about, that wasn't a guess. That was if Elon does it.
Yeah.
So it's not a number that it's 100% factual. There's no arguing about this. It doesn't happen unless Elon makes that a specific number. Now you look at that specific number, it includes the profit.
Right. And because EBITDA is basically profit that you can't gain. Right. And you have to hold it there for each of the last 3 tranches for 12 months each time. Right. So you have to get there and hold it for 36 months, which again, never been done. A bunch of things, never been done before.
And the only thing we're guessing at that point is the PE. And I'll take a PE of 20 at that point. Right. I'm all right. I'm okay. Right. All right. So that's where we're sitting right now. This is why these numbers that we keep giving you. It's pretty funny. I ran a poll today, Brian, and I said, "Do you think it'll be 500 by the 12th?" And the vast majority were yes or maybe. So people have started to buy in at least to that 500 since we're sitting at 460. Anyway, and I don't know, I haven't taken a poll on whether people think we'll get to 2,000 by the end of next year. But I think I just think once they start rolling out the robotaxis and Gary Black can get his spreadsheet rolling, he's going to go, what did I do?
Yeah. So if we get to 1,500, the 1,500, 1,700 thing that Elon talked about in the All-In podcast for the next 60 days, right? And then Q2, we do get the Cybercab rollout, and we get to over 10,000 Cybercab. Then I'd say caveated to that, I would say that the 3,000 number by the end of next year is possible. But if I was to say the one I would definitely go with, I would say more bold than Dan Ives. I would say 1,000 by the end of Q2, and then definitely to pick a different number than you. Let's say 2,200 for I'll take the up on that.
That's right.
By the end of the year.
And I've been saying 1,500 to 2,000, and that the other 500 is because Optimus is actually being shipped to third parties. And I'm not sure. I might not need Optimus being shipped. In fact, Optimus being shipped to third parties might get us to 2,200 or even higher.
But the thing is, if you're up at that 2000 level,
Yeah,
a 10% move gets you to 2200. Like it's like then the fluctuation of like what's happening in the market, like then it's like what happened in the midterms. It's like, a little bit of optimism and pessimism in the market would move you from because like um Nvidia did a 10-for-1 split, right? So they were at $600, which is the equivalent of $60. They did a 10-for-1 split. So now they're at as high as 200. So it's equivalent to 2000 from before, right? So then they moved from 160 to 200, in like in a month or something like that.
yeah.
So it's like those kind of moves are nothing. You think, oh, it's so big. It's like when you're over there, it's only a 20% move at that point.
Right, right. Yeah, you're like, well, 150 to 200 wasn't a big move.
Yeah,
Oh, it's the same percentage to go to
right,
1,500 from 1,500 to 2,000.
right.
All right. So, okay. So I had one other thing, at least one other thing I want to talk to you about, Brian, and that is Reigns 1224 one. Anyway, I forget his number, but
X account who does
yes,
a lot of deep analysis. Yes,
and it's
very good.
Raines. So you put it in the search, but just put that, it'll give you the rest. And it was an analyst that I was following very closely, and then he kind of disappeared for a while. Now he seems to be back. He said today, and I reported on this morning, but I want to get your take on it. He said that the AI4 chip under the 14 regimen is way, way better, more uh,
Efficient,
higher resolution, uh,
mm,
better vision, and can see more things. He even talked about it being able to see what's the word? Oculated? Occluded.
occluded.
That's the word,
Yeah,
occluded. Even
yeah.
to see, I didn't know the word. I knew I'd heard the word occluded, but I had to relearn it when this whole thing started with Tesla about a year ago. Anyway, so the occluded things would be things where you can see it right now, but then all of a sudden the bus pulls in front of it, and the computer still says, "I know there's a curb behind that bus." Um,
So I've think I've experienced that myself driving 14.1.4, where I was going into the Caldecott tunnel, which is there's two holes side by side
okay.
that are going in the same direction.
All
So
right.
you have like four lanes, two in one tunnel, two in another.
Okay.
And I was coming up to it. It was dark, might have been raining and stuff like that. And the car on FSD um, shifted over from going to the left tunnel to the right tunnel,
Hmm.
right? And I was not clear why it was, but when we pulled up closer, there was a jam in the left tunnel, right? And so then we went into the right tunnel, which was totally clear, right? So that meant likely that it was seeing up ahead into a bunch of cars, one car behind the other, and just looking past the windows of each car to see that there was a jam, right? So I had not spotted it yet, and
Yeah.
it did.
Yeah.
So maybe it did it just off the fact that there was some brake lights off in front of it,
Yeah.
but it was a complete jam that was like over half the tunnel that was blocked. So it figured out, hey, that's a bad call. Let's go to the other
Right.
side.
So he goes on to say, he says, okay, look, it's got superhuman vision. It can see these occlusions. And that's why it's now sometimes dancing around because of some leaves blowing across the road, or sometimes there's really nothing, it's a shadow or something. Yeah, kind of going back a little bit in terms of what it might have done a year ago. And he said, but that is just training. He says, it's just, they just have to increase. They're going to need to use more compute time on each training round in order to make sure that they're keeping that it's taking into consideration that it can seize that so clearly. It needs
Right.
to then think more about what it is that is up ahead.
I think it's also the reasoning aspect of it.
Mhm.
It's because so fine, I spot someone between two cars or something like that, but we know that that person isn't going to run out. But it's being overcautious and saying maybe that person is going to run out, or they're standing at the crosswalk they're saying, okay, well, if you're at a crosswalk, you may be ready to go. But the person is turned to, almost to the back to the intersection, talking to someone. They're not ready to make the walk across the intersection, right? So having that reasoning component to get more intent, not just see them, see what they're doing, analyze it, and then to make those connections, to know that's not a problem. It's going to be okay. I can keep going. I may want to, in case I'm wrong, because someone could just go crazy. Like I had an incident where I was driving in Canada one time, and I was driving slow through some residential area, and then there was a dog, a Labrador, on the lawn, and then suddenly it just bolted. It was with its owner, and then just bolted and ran to my car about like 100 feet at full speed. I hit the brakes. Its head ran into my car, not because my car stopped moving, but just like ran into it. Right. So that kind of freak incident, once in 2 decades or 5 decades for me, right, is something that they could say, okay, that in theory could happen. You have to have some kind of odds around that, where some accident could occur if someone did something nutty. So then that's a question of like, you have to have some reasoning, some judgment, and then just say, okay, I don't think anything happened. It's like 0.01%. I'll just keep an eye on it. So the system has to I'll keep looking just in case they go crazy.
Right.
But then I won't necessarily brake until the threat goes from 0.01 to something.
Okay, so did I cover? You said you had something you wanted to cover, and I forget now whether I covered it or not.
There was the Figure AI. The nearly $40 billion competitor on humanoid bot. So people say, well, that's one of the main competitors for Tesla. So Figure AI proudly announced that they have a NVIDIA B200, the latest chip. They have a cluster of B200s. They have 33 racks of B200s, 33 with 8 chips in each one. So they have 264 chips, and the latest chips, and they're the equivalent of 1,200 H100s. It could be 4.5 times more. So that is 1% of the compute that Tesla reported in their Q3 earnings call. They have 120,000 H100s, which is still only 1/20th the amount that xAI has. But xAI is training other things. But xAI has 550,000 B200s, 2,000 times more than NVIDIA. And they have another compute cluster with 400,000 H100 equivalents. So that's 4 times bigger. So the Elon Musk companies have way, way, way more compute than their competitor, Figure AI. But Figure AI probably has other cloud computing access resources, so they don't have just that. But they're localized in on-premises compute is teeny tiny.
So I don't know anything. I 100% don't know what I'm talking about, and maybe it's impossible for us to know if we're not in their lab. But at the level that they're training right now, where they're training it to do, I mean, and we don't know how many they're training, whether it's 10 or 20 or 50, but at the level that they're training right now, where it's basically fairly rudimentary, screwing in something or moving a panel from here to there, or whatever it might be doing. Is there a massive amount of compute necessary for those kind of to be training some of these new things that it's doing? Does that take a lot of compute?
So, and there was an estimate made by ARK Invest, their top futurist, name starts with a W, Winston, or anyway. So ARK Invest on their call made an estimate that it would take $100 billion worth of compute to do all the things for Tesla bot. I think, which is a huge number, but is actually the kind of compute, like the Colossus 2 clusters being built for $40 billion plus some debt, right? So the xAI cluster is enough. It's more than the Tesla clusters, which is 120, because they said that Tesla only has 5% of the compute of xAI, right?
Right.
So if Tesla goes to, if they're correct, we need to go to that level of 20 times more compute equal to XAI, right? Over some number of years. He thinks it'll take 4 years to do it. Other people have said, I think, was it James Dama or some other people, some people who know their AI think that that's a way overestimate. Don't need that much. Can get by with and 10 times or even less. And also, clearly, we're able to do many very complex things now.
Yeah.
And there was um, uh, 3 Stanford students, I believe, PhD students, who used off-the-shelf parts, tiny little computer, like virtually no compute at all, like less than some desktops and stuff like that. And they were able to train up their system with hands to do some cooking and stuff like that. But that was only to 90% efficiency. So the question, like, how much does the compute multiply up? You have to go from 90% to 99 to 9.9, et cetera. But we're getting a lot of capabilities. Like Figure AI has done a bunch of stuff, and clearly they don't have much compute.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and Tesla, their Colossus has to do the vehicles.
yeah,
They're spending a tremendous amount of time training the vehicles. So the Optimus is getting maybe I don't know if they're getting the leftovers or if they're getting first priority, but they got to be sharing.
right, yeah. So you would use the existing structures, systems, and stuff, and adapt it to the new framework. And things like I'm understanding what's happening in this video is what both things need to do, right? They're moving through the environment. They're both doing that. Whether one's walking, whether one's driving is similar things. So there is definitely a lot of things overlapping. And also the data also overlaps in that the bot could be walking down the sidewalk, you can go up a driveway, it could be interacting with things. So there's a lot of the use cases of real world is overlapping.
Okay, all right. I knew there was one more thing that we wanted to talk about. So, all right, I'm going to talk about a couple of things coming up later tonight. I was going to have White. I'm not. I'm gonna put Brian White off because it was evergreen. It'll be just as good on Friday as it would be tonight. Instead, I'm putting up a Phil Beisel. And if you put these together, if you put together last night's Brian video that we did with regard to AI 5, 6, 7, and 8, which is an amazing, amazing, if you haven't watched it yet, and that card will be up, so you can go back and watch that. And then you put tonight's video with that in terms of what's happening, with all the things we just talked about. You add in Phil's, because Phil now is talking about the let's see, let me think here. He's kind of in the middle. He's like he's at the level where it's what does that do? What does that FSD chip do for the cars now and in the future? Okay, a little bit more on the application side, and outstanding. It's based on his ninth part of his series that he's doing on X. And then tomorrow night, I think, if Brian and I have time, tomorrow night, Brian's going to do something on the space part of this whole thing. Because as he kind of talked about last night, once you start putting these chips in space and maybe on the moon, and you have the cold and you don't have, anyway, you probably want to know all of this because Brian believes it will have a major impact on the valuation of Tesla in future years. So there's a whole series there of things which you're not going to find on any other channel. You're just not going to find anywhere else.
Well, there's my channel as well as
Your channel. Yeah, that's right. Your
yeah,
channel, of course. Well, they should always watch your channel.
yeah.
And Brian, have you bought the book yet?
Yes, I'm buying the book. Yes.
What? Okay, it's out in audio. For those of you who have been waiting, it's out in audio and you can get it right now on Amazon. And then I want to remind people we do need reviews. Now we got to 30 really fast, but we haven't had any reviews in 24 hours. And so it's starting to bother me. I need way more reviews than just 30, although 29 of those are 5-star.
Mhm.
So that's pretty good.
Yep.
All right, Brian, let's say adieu. And
Okay.
we will, it's been great talking to you.